Yesterday, my colleague Desiree Chauke spoke to Solly Moeng, who is the CEO of Donvalley Reputation Managers, about the Phala Phala report. Well, Moeng also commented on ANC members who are implicated in corruption, saying they are innocent until proven guilty, but they must clear their names before serving in public office. Let's take you back to that interview from yesterday.
Is this the right way to go to try and take it on review? Just that legal principle that innocent until proven guilty, how far can we stretch this?
Yeah, Zuma is also innocent until proven guilty. Malusi Gigaba is innocent. Tom Moyane, all of these people are innocent until proven guilty. Unfortunately, that's the state of law that we have in South Africa. But the thing is that people then don't have to appeal to their own conscience. They know that they did things that are wrong for South Africa, but because legally, on a technicality, they're innocent until proven guilty. I would say then stand aside, go through all the processes to get your name cleared, and then when you are cleared, we can give a responsibility of public or in a public position in South Africa. But that's not what happens in the ANC. So you have all the National Assembly filled with crooks, the Lutula House filled with crooks, even in the South African High Commissioners around the world, High Commissions and embassies, we've got crooks who've been sent to these places because they're innocent until proven guilty. They did something wrong in South Africa. So then you normalize criminality at political level. You don't be surprised when criminality becomes normalized throughout the society, because there's no star to look up to. There's no leader to look up to. Even Ramaphosa has lost the moral high ground within his own political party. His ministers insult him. They tell him to leave while he's still in office. So he has no respect in the party. How does he expect to get respect in the country? So we need to separate what's good for South Africa, as I said, from what's good for the ANC. And it is a time when the ANC, South Africa must accept that we cannot go with the ANC. Of course, the ANC holds the electoral mandate until the next elections. We accept that. If Ramaphosa goes away tomorrow, they're going to choose Mabuza. As you know, current protocols require that the deputy president takes over until a new president is deployed, not elected by the people of South Africa, deployed by the same ANC, and they're not going to deploy another Nelson Mandela. We know they're going to deploy somebody else who has all sorts of charges and accusations over their head, because they're not able to look beyond the ANC into the broader South Africa, where they can find amazingly good men and women to lead this country. They're not going to do that. They keep circulating this dish amongst themselves.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about this. I'm joined now via Zoom by Mr. Malusi Gigaba himself. Mr. Gigaba, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time.
Good morning, and I welcome the opportunity to respond to this gentleman.
Yeah, and this is really why we called you. We had that interview yesterday with Solly Moeng, reputational management expert, and he made some very strong statements. I think you were able to hear it there. Is it only fair as journalists that we give you an opportunity to respond to those assertions? The question asked to him was, well, legally, we are all innocent until proven guilty. And he says, well, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But he essentially made the assertion that leaders within the African National Congress need to appeal to their own conscience. He goes further to say that we have built a culture of political crooks. I mean, what do you say to what you heard in that clip now?
Fortunately, South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and we are a law-based nation. And therefore, we are governed not by the prejudices of Mr. Moeng and his likes, but by the tenets of law, which should apply equally to everyone. And I think South Africans have been insisting, particularly in the last few years, that law must not only be done, but it must also be seen to be done. And so we cannot be governed by people who say that because I have this opinion of you, therefore you are corrupt, you are a crook. It actually is in itself incorrect to label people as such when no competent court of law has found them as such. Insofar as answering to all the allegations which were made against me and other people at the State Capture Commission, we have presented ourselves and answered to all of those questions, including questions which were absolutely ridiculous, including allegations which were based on on gossip, hearsay, innuendo. We've answered to each and every one of them. And as I stand here, I am not charged of anything. The commission, after spending R1 billion investigating all sorts of things, not only in relation to me, came to the conclusion only that there should be further investigations. It hasn't made any determination that I have anything to answer. It hasn't made any determination that I am wrong of anything, because ultimately it was not a court of law. Only a competent court of law would make such a determination. And so there is no need for me to stand aside for anything. And I am here enjoying the protection of the constitution of the country and the laws of this land, not the subjective opinions of Mr. Moeng and his likes.
You are, of course, up for nomination to be part of the ANC NEC. I mean, talk to me about the significance of that for you, considering what a tumultuous few years you certainly have had in your political career.
It's quite significant, and I really appreciate the confidence that the branches of the ANC have shown in me and have continued to show in me. Even in 2019, I was nominated high on the ANC list, and I voluntarily decided not to stand for parliament because there were still all sorts of things that needed to be clarified. I have presented myself to the Commission of Inquiry. I have answered to all the allegations, including the most frivolous, as I have said, and therefore I don't believe that there is anything else that I still have to respond to. So the branches of the ANC have shown not only confidence in my leadership credentials, my track record, my political consciousness and clarity, but they've also appreciated that very fact that I was humble enough to put the interests of the African National Congress ahead of those of my own, and declined the nomination to Parliament in 2019, even though they had nominated me high up. But furthermore, in 2018, I also resigned all my positions in public service as a result of the issues that we still had to deal with and that I was dealing with. And I think that I have therefore done all that I've needed to do. And so this is quite a significant gesture on the part of the branches of the ANC, which I appreciate very deeply. I've served the ANC NEC for 26 years now. I have been on the ANC NEC for longer than I have been alive. And so it really is a humbling gesture on the part of the branches of the ANC to express this confidence. Of course, this is only a nomination. It doesn't mean that I have been voted into the NEC. So we are still going to go through that process at the national conference, which is starting next week. And I think people should not be presumptuous and try to jump the gun to express their subjective opinions. They must accept that branches of the ANC equally think, equally assess us, and they are very capable of doing so on their own.
If we sit with your own political career for a moment, Mr. Gigaba, have you yourself given up on being part of the top 6 of the African National Congress? And would you be just content with being elected as an NEC member?
Of course, I've not given up on it. But let me make this statement. First and foremost, it cannot be my opinion whether I now deserve to be in the top 6 of the ANC. Members of the ANC, through their branches and the delegates at the national conference starting next week, will express that opinion, and I will accept whatever decision that they make in that regard. So I'm still young enough. I have years to give to the ANC and to public service. So whatever happens, this coming conference will not be the beginning or the end. I will subject myself to the collective will and vision and wisdom of the branches of the ANC. But secondly, I have been very critical and I remain as critical of the flagrant use of money by people to ascend to leadership positions in the African National Congress, some of whom people we have never heard of in the structures of the ANC, but simply because they have plenty of money, which they got in whatever way that they did, they then avail themselves by nominations and presumably will be trying to buy the election into the leadership of the ANC. I believe that we all have to put forward our credentials, our track record, political clarity and consciousness, and make that be the determining factor as to whether we now qualify to ascend to higher positions in the ANC.
Right. I want to bring this in because I think that it would be unfair even to our viewers if we didn't have this conversation around Phala Phala. Because the country, the world has been wrapped up in the story for the past week. What do you make of the Section 89 Phala Phala report? Did the ANC, NEC take the right decision in, I suppose, where you have had members within the party standing behind President Cyril Ramaphosa? Was that the right decision to make?
You know, the issue of Phala Phala should not embroil the ANC into such a conflict that we end up forgetting the primary purpose for which the ANC was established and exists. And we should not allow that issue to distract the ANC from its historical mission of leading our country towards total emancipation. It is necessary that answers should genuinely be provided to the nation so that we all are in the clear as what actually happened there. The issue is not how the allegations came up. The issue is the mere fact that there was a whistleblower who has provided information which is of such significance and weight that the nation deserves genuine answers and not half-truths. And so I think it's necessary that the ANC-NEC did not say that the president should not provide answers. Of course, the president must provide answers about all of the allegations which have been made, answers which are satisfactory, which are going to stand our democracy in good stead as we go forward, and that will make this democracy to endure in the coming few years, because the very character of our democracy now hangs in the balance as the result of the strenuous attempts to cover up what happened at Phala Phala and to try and protect the president from having to answer about these allegations. I think the president himself is not saying he doesn't want to provide answers, and therefore the Section 89 panel report provides the basis for that to happen, and the parliamentary process has got to be followed. Because it's not about the impeachment. Once you talk impeachment, you're already putting the cart before the horse. No such decision has been made yet. At the moment, what Parliament wants is for an inquiry that is going to provide the president with huge platform for him to answer to all these allegations and put the nation at ease about what happened at his farm.
Right. Well, let's leave it there, Mr. Gigaba. We certainly will be watching closely, of course, what takes place within the African National Congress as we get closer and closer to the national conference. And we'll be watching as well for your nomination towards the NEC of the African National Congress. Malusi Gigaba there speaking to us. And you can share your thoughts on that discussion at the agenda _SABC.